son is racing.
Welcome, Racemans, to another episode of the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We have all your action for the Ford EcoBoost 400 from Homestead, Miami. This one, kids, is for the championship. It's championship weekend, but guess what? We'll also decide the championship in our season-long league. Now, I know it's only a two-horse race at this point in time, but we wish both of them best of luck. Liehr, tell us about that two-horse race this weekend in our contest.
Yeah, so it's DJ Primick, and who's got a pretty lengthy lead. It's less than 50 points. So basically he has to not do very well at all. And our boy Wiscoins, Joe Schmidt, has got to at least probably get first place. And DJ Primick's really got to mess up for him not to win it. So, but best of luck to both of them.
Yeah, and at least it was close enough that we needed to have a contest this week. However, I am not in the contest as DraftKings has locked out my account for some weird reason. And so I'm not even getting to play this week. So, yeah, we'll talk about that more in detail a little bit later. I'm not very happy about that. But the weather should be nice with temps in the low 80s with a slight chance of the usual Florida showers when they go racing at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC, the main network, with special coverage of the Championship 4 on NBC Sports Network. Liehr, did you have a fun fact to add in there?
Yeah, well, kind of piggying back off my interesting fact, but Ford has not won a NASCAR championship since 2002, with Chevy winning mostly all of them except in 2012 when Brad Keselowski won for Dodge. But man, they've got to be the heavy favorite going into this weekend, with 2 of the 4 in there with Logano and Kevin Harvick, and Harvick by far has been probably the best car, and Stewart-Haas Racing has been the best team this year. But it comes down to one race tomorrow, and we'll see what happens, my friend.
I'm excited for the race. I was really excited to play, even though I can't. So that's a lot of fun. But anyways, guys, I think this is a good time, before we get into the picks, as usual, for Liehr and I to give you guys a little bit of an announcement. After a long series of deliberations between the two of us and conversations, this is going to be our last show together and probably the last Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy Show. We're doing this for a few reasons. The main ones are the amount of time and effort that it takes to put the show together every week with the extremely long season. It doesn't produce any money for Liehr or I, and that's a problem for the amount of time that we put in. We were both hoping that we would get sponsorship at some point in time and have somebody pick up the show to make it worth our time, and that's just not the case. And when the contests were still good on DraftKings and we were still able to make money playing NASCAR on DraftKings, it was okay, but they've shrunk the contest. It keeps shrinking. It seems like DraftKings doesn't really care about the NASCAR product a whole lot, and that in combination with how much time this takes and the fact that we both have lives that we want to be able to do our own things, and the fact that the NASCAR season is so long, I know it's with a heavy heart that both of us say that this is going to be our last show. Now, there's been talk of me doing a solo show that would be quick, maybe next year. That'll be up to, honestly, whether or not you guys really want to see that. And Liehr might join me from time to time occasionally, but that would be the extent of what we do if we do anything further. But like we said, that'll be all about you. Liehr, I want to personally thank you for being along on this journey. Like, it has been a blast. Not only are you one of my best friends in the world, but to be able to do this with you for these past 4 years has been amazing. And you stuck with it, and you tried and we worked our hardest and did some great things together and grew from a few people watching the show to hundreds of people every week. And, it feels like we've reached kind of a ceiling, but I've been so privileged to have you with me each step of the way. And I want to thank you for that, brother.
No, thanks, man. I'm starting to get emotional over here listening to you talk.
Yeah, I got a little choked up. Sorry.
But yeah, it's, it's sad. I definitely love doing the show, but as Poppa outlined there, it does take a lot of effort and time, and pretty much every weekend I've gotta carve out time to do what I have to do to get it done. And having a family and a young one, and taking care of an elderly parent, and things are changing on this side, and it's been busy with work, and it's just it's becomes a lot to take on. And I don't know, man, it's just crazy how far the journey has gone. And we started when DraftKings incepted the product of NASCAR Daily Fantasy, and it's been an awesome ride. There's definitely been ups and definitely been some downs, but from the first few episodes of doing it together in the same room at your house, and also to say too that to have the opportunity to do it with one of my best friends is awesome too. Not only for being able to do it with somebody that really well, but also the fact that we both love the sport and are definitely fantasy degenerates, and made for a match made in heaven. And just unfortunately it's just it's one of those things where there's just not enough out there to get to where we want to be when it comes to giving you guys what you need, and also being able to make it worth our time, because time is money, and we put a lot of time and effort into it, but unfortunately too, there's only just a finite of time to get it done within a certain amount of time, and also provide you the best information that we can provide you after practice times and qualifying and everything else. So essentially, there's other ones out there that you do have to pay for their services, but we didn't ever want to take it to that. But unfortunately, this is going to be our last ride together, at least for the show, officially. But I definitely, I'm sure there'll be some opportunities if you do decide to head down that road next year and do some shows. I'm sure I'll tag along for a couple of them for sure. But it's been an absolute pleasure, brother. And, I appreciate all your hard work too on getting the show done and edited, and making forth the effort every week. And it definitely is a grind. We chose the sport with the longest season out of all the sports to do. And, right. To go from February to November with just a week break here and there it's tough go. And I definitely appreciate the viewers that we've had, the people that have interacted with us on the show, and obviously people that are hardcore, passionate NASCAR fans that also love playing fantasy, and especially to those that participated all season in the year long that we had this year. Is kind of a unique option that nobody else did, and it was fun. It was awesome just to do a kind of year long fantasy daily in a year long league. I wish DraftKings would actually promote the product and do all of the analytics and everything for it too, to make it easier for people to do. Anyways, it's been an awesome journey, man, and appreciate it. And it's been awesome being your co-pilot, and definitely will be something I'll always remember. And I will keep grinding though, as far as daily fantasy NASCAR, if they make it worth our while. But it's just been a crazy swing from where it started at really small tournaments to big time payouts for the guys finishing up top, to now we're talking about this week, the last daily fantasy NASCAR of the 2018 season at my own Homestead Miami Speedway. And the best contest that we have is a $400 entry with a 3-entry max, $10K to first out of 111 people. And then of course you got the lottery that you can play in every single week, which is $10, but I think it's like 14,000 or something people. That's definitely more of a lottery play there, but that's it. And that's pretty sad. I was hoping that they would get something at least out there, maybe a $50,000 or $100,000 payout to the top place, and have fun with it for the last one. So, but not going to happen. But definitely, I know I'm going on here and on, but it's been an absolute pleasure, brother. And I appreciate everything you've done and everything you've done for the show. And I'm definitely gonna miss it and miss doing it with you.
Absolutely, man. And I just want to thank each and every one of you guys that tuned in every week and supported us, or when you could tune in and watch. Like the interaction with you guys, even when the guys that we've met at the tracks and ladies that we met at the track, and the interaction we've had has been amazing. And I just want to throw this out there: if you really want to test a friendship, do a podcast for a few years with one of your best friends. You will go from like having moments of like the closest relationship you've ever had, friend-wise, and then wanting to choke them out at another moment. And I know Liehr shared those feelings towards me several points over this journey, but it's been an absolute blast, and the good definitely outweighs the negative across the board. And I just want to thank all of you guys for joining us in this journey. With that said, Liehr, let's get into the picks as always, right? Are we good to do that?
All right, brother.
All right, man. I think we need to start off with the Championship 3. We're going to do it a little different for old time's sake. We're first going to start off talking about Rowdy, who's 11,800. He was top 3 in 10-lap averages in final practice. I wouldn't count him out on championship weekend. In the second to last practice, he was 10th in 10-lap averages, showing that they've been dialing in that car. He was right up there with the other two guys that were running at it that I look at as the clear favorites this weekend. Rowdy at 11,800 makes a really interesting play as one of the big three. Liehr, do you have an opinion on Rowdy?
I mean, obviously coming into the last weekend here at my Homestead Miami Speedway, I mean, he's coming off the win at ISM last week at Phoenix. Kind of a dominant performance for that 18 team. And, we can't harp on it enough, but, the sport is definitely all about momentum. And Kyle Busch has the most momentum out of any, driver or team going into this weekend, let alone in the playoffs. So he's got that in the bag for him. And starting second, I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. The only thing that, with Kyle Busch is with him, it can always get tricky. Something goes wrong early. He seems to be one of those that gets flustered pretty easily, and that can get into his head during the duration of the race. So this is one of those opportunities that he needs to get out of his own head, basically understand and have the whereabouts of knowing that, okay, this is one race and this is for a championship. And as far as Kyle Busch, the guy's probably one of the best drivers to ever get behind the wheel. Personally, because we have this platform that we talk about him. People don't like him just because he plays that non-likable type personality that people don't like, and he's pretty blunt, straightforward, to the point. But there's something about him that I definitely respect, that he just doesn't care, and that's okay. And we're not all going to like the same drivers in the sport, but I mean, you can't help that out of those last 3 races here, he's got finished of first, 6th, and 2nd. And both times that he started in the top 3, he finished 1st or 2nd. So, a guy that you definitely have to be cognizant of. But personally, I'm on somebody else. If I can find the money to put him in there, I will definitely do it. Just depends on if I can work out the money portion of it to get the other drivers that I want in there as well.
No, and that makes perfect sense. A guy that I think that we're both not on out of the big three, which is crazy because I would have said he was the favorite to win before this weekend, before they unloaded, is Kevin Harvick at 12,500. It's just plain weird that all the Stewart-Haas Fords have looked slow this weekend, at least slower than what they've normally looked across the board. Harvick and Kurt Busch look even further off than their teammates, but I don't even remember, Liehr, the last time that we had a Stewart-Haas car that we weren't talking about being a top 3 car and a potential dominator. But I don't see it this week from any of the Stewart-Haas cars or from the speeds that they've shown. I don't have Harvick really contending for this championship unless they do something weird, right? I don't have him being a dominator this weekend with the speed he's shown. Do you have any thoughts that are different than that this week?
Well, I mean, first he's starting outside the top 10. He's starting from the 12th position. And, we are at a 1.5 mile track. So, it's one of those to where this guy has basically been the best car, the best, on the best team all season long. He's got the most wins out of everybody this year. Track, this type of track, this type of track, this type of track, that team has always been able to overcome the obstacles and be able to come out and be on the top. This weekend, I'm right there with you. I don't see it from the number 4 team. The other factor you got to put into it too is his crew chief, Rodney Childers, is not going to be in the pit box because of the infraction of 2 weeks ago, being suspended for the rest of the season. And I think that kind of showed a little bit. It showed its face a little bit. Tony Gibson's an awesome crew chief. Obviously, a guy that's been in the sport a very, very long time. And, he's going to be manning the pit box for Harvick up there. But honestly, when you've been riding it with somebody for so long, all season long, and he's been with him, for a handful of years now, with the same guy chatting it up to you in your ear week in, week out. There's just something different about that when you've got somebody else in there chatting it up to you, somebody that you're not used to. And to be quite honest, it's just one of those to where I think that's the factor that pushes it over to where Harvick just is not going to get it done this weekend. Unfortunately, I feel that that's definitely going to happen because, to be honest, in my opinion, it should go to Harvick because he has been the best driver in the best car all season long. But unfortunately, the way that the sport has their playoffs, it's one race for the championship. And unfortunately, he's got some X factors in there that are going to hinder that from happening. And I know that he's finished in the last 4 races here in the top 5 each time with a win back in 2014. But he's also led, 50 plus laps, 3 out of the 4, where last year he started 9th and he led 0 of any laps. So, and it's also sad too, because as a Ford fan, hoping that Ford could break that streak, but I don't see it, man. Like you said, with the speeds that they've been showing this weekend, the crew chief change with Tony Gibson in there, he's going to have to overcome a heck of a lot to make it happen tomorrow. And I don't see that.
Yeah, I think what's odd too is even Harvick in the post interviews today was talking about how the speed just wasn't there, and hopefully they would be able to do some changes in the garage and get it where it needs to be for tomorrow. That just worries me when a driver's acknowledging that there's not any speed in his car. And so that's the main reason why, if I could play, I wouldn't be playing any Harvick. All right, Liehr.
Plus he's the most expensive on the he's the most expensive on the board at 12.5, $700 more than Rowdy Busch. So that's $700. When it comes to how tight the salaries are this week, that makes a big difference too.
Right, and even if he finishes top 5, starting 12th, he's not going to give you the place differential potential that you need. He has to also dominate laps at that price tag to pay off, unless something really crazy happens. I just don't see it happening. If you wanted to get on an island thinking that they do something magical to the car and it's just it runs like a bat out of hell tomorrow, feel free to try that. You'll probably get him at lower ownership than what he should be. But I don't think personally that that's the viable answer this week for a lineup. All right. Now, because it was our last show, I wanted to let Liehr pick his favorite driver for his burning rubber. So we need Liehr. We need you, before we get to the last of the final 3, we're going to let Liehr do the last final burning rubber of this season and of the show. So Liehr, do one good, even though the family's asleep. Wake them up for all I care. This is our last show.
Hold on, I gotta shut the door real quick. Well, it's I'm definitely gonna give it 1, man. Last show, it was kind of it was just something that I just did from the start of the show when we were doing it in the early days, and I don't know, it was just kind of one of those things that kind of stuck when I was doing it, and been doing it ever since. And unfortunately, wearing the hat too, but Furniture Row is shutting their doors, which completely sucks. And I don't know, to me too, that kind of shows where the sport's going, where one of the major teams, even though it is a single car team, can't gain enough sponsorship to keep and the champion, let alone from last season, can't get sponsorship to continue their ride for next season. So that's it. Just sucks, man. But it's going to be a tough day tomorrow. But I think reason I'm going to do it this way is just because Martin Truex is my guy. If you ever had the opportunity to meet him, is one of the most down-to-earth guys that you'll ever talk to there in the garage. A guy deserves everything that he's gotten through NASCAR, and unfortunately, this is another seat that's been taken from him. That's basically out of his hands. I mean, the guy's given it everything that he could, and unfortunately, the money's just not there. But Robert, Miami Homestead Truex Championship back-to-back style, baby!
That was fantastic, dude. Thank you for an awesome special Truex Homer Out version of the Burner Rubber, baby. Love it. I don't think we have any reservations about who your pick is, so go ahead, man. Tell us how much you love Truex this weekend and why.
Well, I definitely love Truex this weekend at Miami. And honestly, and I don't think we're going to, we'll probably talk about him a little bit, but, I definitely think it's going to be between Truex and Rowdy Busch for the championship tomorrow. Truex, just in my mind, they practiced really, really well. They came off the truck really fast. Final practice today, he was second fastest to Logano. Same thing in 10-lap averages. He was second fastest. And, starting from that third position, before last season, he hadn't had a ton of great experience here at my Homestead. I want to call it Miami Homestead, but it's Homestead Miami. But, he's had a handful of top 5 finishes here and not so great finishes. 2016 got caught up in a crash and finished 36. So, last year when the pressure was on, came through, man, and he won the race. He dominated the race last year at Miami Homestead. Again, I did it again, not even thinking about it. Homestead Miami. But those are the things you guys are going to miss too with watching the show, aren't you? Where you see the
I know I'm going to miss them. I know I'm going to miss them.
But Truex is they are definitely set up to finish this thing out on the right note here. He's 11,300 this week, so third highest on the board. Starts from the third position, and I think, with what he endured last year, which is obviously his first championship as a NASCAR Cup driver, it broadened his driving capabilities, knowing that he could do it, that he was one, because there are a lot of guys in this sport that they win races, but they never win a championship. To win a championship is amazing. It has to feel amazing. And you could tell that in his emotions last season. And, coupling that with Furniture Row now shutting its doors down, he's still going to be back next year with Joe Gibbs racing in the number 19, taking Daniel Suarez's spot. Not going to be the same. But it's one of those things that I think it's just a destiny type of thing, to where it's going to happen for Truex and Barney Visser and Cole Pern, because he's just a Pern star. The guy's amazing. It's just, they have such a good group and a good team there, cohesiveness. I think that team's going to get it done this weekend, and the proof is in the pudding. They practiced really, really well this weekend, and I know a lot of people probably say that Logano is probably a better choice just because he's got more faster times this weekend than
Dude, you
Martin
want to
Truex
quit?
Jr.
Yeah, on the final show, you want to quit stealing my burning rubber pick like stats?
I'm sorry,
I'm just
but
messing with you, dude.
but he does have a couple more place differential than Truex. But in my opinion, I just think that Truex and the guys in the 78 team going to get it done this weekend, and it's just one of those things that it's destiny. It's going to happen to close out the doors at Furniture Row the right way, and for a guy Barney Visser where he was basically sponsoring cars all by himself with his furniture company, and to take it from, where it was, where they were barely competing with everybody, to now one of the only teams with a one car that competes with all the big boys that have multiple cars, and to close it out that way. And I think that's the way it's going to go. So I'm definitely going to be all up on the Truex train this weekend, and going to be missing talking about him. And I think it's only fair too that the show kind of ends with Furniture Row closing as well. He's been my favorite NASCAR driver, before we started the show, but throughout the whole show too. And definitely going to be awesome tomorrow to watch him get it done, and see him do it again to have two in a row. And I definitely think that Truex is a guy you're going to want to have exposure on this weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love the Truex play this weekend. They are the nicest team. We've met them all trackside multiple times, and they always go out of their way to have awesome conversations with you. It's sad that they're closing, but yet fitting. They were the underdog team, and like we were the underdog fantasy show trying to do it right and do it for free. And it doesn't work out that way, and it's kind of fitting that both doors are closing at the same time, in my opinion. But I agree with you. I have Truex winning the championship, and I think he's going to get it done this week. And he's another one of those drivers, like to be honest, like Harvick, that I want to thank for spending time with us trackside and hanging out, and being really cool and accessible. My burning rubber pick.
And before you get going on your Logano pick, I didn't mention it, but I would probably say one of my coolest moments ever with you was this spring when we were at Kansas Speedway, and after the race took place, we were at post inspection, and right there, right next to Harvick's car and Truex's car right there, and we ended up having just a mind-blowing 15-minute conversation with Cole Pern.
Oh, yeah.
Just you and me and Cole Pern, and it was awesome, man. And that's definitely something that I will always remember and always cherish, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, dude. That is one of my favorite memories of sports, was like having that conversation like with the Pern star. That was just amazing. Yeah, so many good memories. It's sad to see this chapter for us kind of end, but let's get through the rest of the picks and not get choked up. I'm trying my best to not do that. So my pick, guys, is the one guy that I'm worried about really crushing Truex's storyline this week, and that's Logano at 10,600, starting fifth. The reason why is these Fords actually look dialed in. The Penske Fords did. He was top of the board in 10-lap averages in both practice 2 and the final practice. His teammates were also fast. They also looked good. Keselowski's a good sneaky play for people that won't be playing the main guys this week. I just think this car looks dialed in this week. It's just faster than everyone else on the track in single laps and 10-lap average splits. Everywhere he's just faster. When usually you see this out of a car, they go on to dominate a race, and usually they dominate it in a huge fashion. I don't want that to happen because I want the Truex two-peat. I want Barney to get another championship before he closes the doors. I think that would be a way better storyline. Plus, Logano has literally cost me a ton of money, but it's only fitting that I had to pick him in the last show, as dirty as he's done me. Because I really have this gut feeling that he's going to do everyone dirty and somehow dominate this race and pull it off, when everybody would much rather see the Truex storyline, or Truex with a rowdy battling, or Harvick coming out of nowhere to battle for it. I think those are the storylines everybody would much prefer. I think we're going to actually get a Logano storyline of domination. And that's what worries me, and it honestly makes me want to play him. And if I could play this week, I would probably play at least a Logano-centric lineup. Liehr, your thoughts on Logano?
The crazy part about him is he just kind of, I don't know, man. He just laid in the tumbleweeds all season long and wasn't really dominant at all at any portions of the season. He had good races here and there. I mean, I remember he started out the season, and I was thinking to myself, he was first in points, in driver points, but yet he had still not, like, gone out and completely dominated a race. And I'm like, how in the hell is this guy doing this? And it's just because he was, just consistent. He wasn't going out and dominating races like the Ford team, or, Kyle Busch, or, was just kind of consistent, top 10s, top 5s. And he's just kind of been under the radar most of the season. And as of late, since the playoffs started, he just really, that team is really, and him and Todd Gordon have just kind of turned it around, and not really turned it around, but just, went over the top with everything. And
well done with the hat flip. Well done.
It's just been one of those where I really didn't see that happening this season with Joey Logano. He's been in the sport for quite a while now, but I just wasn't really expecting it from him. He was not my fourth choice going into the playoffs as the fourth car, and I don't think he was in very many people's spectrum at all either. He probably would have gone with another Stewart-Haas car, but every time he's been doubted, he's come and brought it, and here he is. I mean, and going into the weekend, and what do you know? He's fastest car this weekend as far as practices are concerned, starting from the top 5. And the crazy part, though, is his practice times are a mile an hour faster than Martin Truex Jr. As far as single laps, and almost, it's about half a mile an hour faster on the 10-lap averages. So that's a little scary to me. So I'm right there with you. I think if Truex can't get it done, then I think Logano's going to give him a run for his money. But I think if Kyle Busch can stay out of his own way and get out of his own head and just drive and trust his instincts, I think that it'll either be Kyle Busch, Truex, Logano, or I'm hoping that it's Truex, Kyle Busch, Harvick, Logano. But I don't see Harvick having the speed to take out Logano this weekend, so I don't think that will happen. But Joey Logano definitely is one of those guys that scares me a little bit. But he's definitely a guy that's also kind of like Kyle Busch, where he's hated a lot by some fans in the community. Most times I've had interactions with Joey Logano. He's pretty quiet, really tall guy compared to most of the other drivers. Tall, lanky guy, dude, but he's really nice. Nice guy to talk to, and he does a lot of things for the NASCAR community. I just think it needs to happen to where maybe he'll get a speeding penalty at the end, and have to come back in and do a roll through pit lane.
Oh man, yeah, they're probably going to be.
I'm sorry, but NASCAR. This is their last race of the season. They need some good feel good stories to make it happen. But if the Liehr gut was at all telling me anything to say something, here's just an indication: is that in 9 races here at Homestead Miami Speedway, Joey Logano has raced 9 times, and he's led 78 laps total at Homestead Miami Speedway. So he's given a nod to the 78 there.
Wow, that was a good Liehr speak moment from your weird gut impulses. That's hilarious. Way to throw one of those in on the final show. That was fabulous.
Right? You got to throw that in there.
Somebody else that we've got to talk about as a potential dominator, I don't think he'll do anything, is Hamlin sitting on the pole, who, guys, the pole sitter hasn't won here in, Liehr, over 10 years. Yeah, he started on the pole last year, finished ninth, and he didn't even lead one lap. So I'm saying Hamlin's a stone cold easy fade. His times are nowhere near the top three guys that we've already talked about as liking in Logano, Rowdy, and Truex. I see no reason to even mess with Hamlin. Do you?
No, not really. How did you like his stealing the pit box that Truex won it from last year?
I mean, last year they were quasi teammates, and he didn't give it to Truex. This year he gave it up to Rowdy to let Rowdy have the front pit stall.
But yeah, this just tells you all you need to know right here. But the last time somebody went 1-1 at Homestead Miami Speedway was back in 2002, and it was a guy that still races 16 years later, Kurt Busch.
Yeah. I don't think Hamlin's going to be the first in 16 years to do it. Call me crazy, but that's where I'm at. All right, Liehr, we've spent some money on some of the guys this week. Who are you looking at for some value this week?
Well, kind of tough goings this weekend when it comes to value. You've gotta use this term as well, but a plethora of different drivers that you could utilize for your value this weekend. I would definitely probably my top value play. Not much of value when you consider money aspect, but I mean it's hard to deny the fact William Byron starting from the 28th position, $6,900. I mean I would consider that value. You know, you're still talking about a rookie, Billy Byron, as we called him this season. But Billy's had a rough go of it this season, you know, but as you should when you're a rookie. But it's hard to deny the fact Hendrick Equipment in the 28th position, you know, at that salary of $6,900. And, you know, you're talking about a guy that I know that he was had 10 consecutive lap averages. His best 10 lap averages was 24th, highest on the board. So not kind of where you really want to be in that situation. But I have a lot of faith in that team that, you know, that's definitely a team's car, and getting a guy at that salary range at $6,900 is, you know, it's definitely salary relief and somebody that you can probably count on getting him between 15th and 20th place, and maybe even higher. But somebody that I'm definitely looking at this weekend. But somebody else I'm also looking at too is tip of my cap too to the 95 of Levine Family Racing and Regan Smith this weekend. You know, it wouldn't be a show without mentioning Casey Kane for me. You know, guy that basically, you know, made me love the sport a ton. And my very first favorite driver in the sport. So definitely going to, you know, because that was his last car that he drove this season was the Dumont racing vehicle, the Jets Chevrolet. So pretty cool to see that one at the last race of the season. But Regan Smith, you know, is another guy that he's done a fantastic job since Kane couldn't get back in the car. Going to be starting, I believe it's from, is it the 30th position? Let me check that real quick. Yeah, 30th position. So another guy that's definitely at his salary point, which is I think it's $5,800 this weekend. I'm sorry, yeah, $5,800 is a guy that you definitely want to look at too, in my opinion. Probably not going to be a huge mover and shaker for you, but definitely a car that could get, you know, into those high 20s, you know, 21st, 20th, 19th, maybe even higher if something happens. You know, because that could happen this weekend. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
But definitely a guy that I'm also looking at too.
Man, you're stealing my thunder again. That's part of my argument for why I'm playing my value play. Guys, I went old school with my value play and went to like the super value. I wanted to give you an ultimate value play, which is Ross Chastain starting 39th. He can't lose you any points. He's only 5,300, and as long as he stays on the track, he should be good. Like, he's going to get at least the normal, like he normally gets 5 place differential points anyway. And then if there's any carnage, he's going to get more. I think that 5,300 is a much needed salary relief that you had this weekend. Plus, the guy gave me a free autographed die cast that was awesome. I won a Twitter contest. I really love Ross Chastain. Great guy. I've got an awesome diecast that's autographed from him from a Twitter contest. I can't support the guy more. And that's really
he's
because
a melon farmer.
Right. Not only that, like, he's a melon farmer. And the other play that I think's obvious is Ty Dillon, and we know how I feel about the Ty Dillon play because he's going to be over-owned, and he's a little bit more expensive than he should be at 6,400, but he's starting 31st, making him another value play that you can get on this week. But if you need to save a lot of money, I really like the Ross Chastain play. I've got no real logic behind it other than I like it, and since I can't make the play, it'll probably work out. So.
No, I definitely like the Ross Chastain play too because you know, it's one of those where it's kind of a free square. You got nothing to lose, and it's a huge salary reliever too. Mm-hmm. You know, not obviously he's going to be supporting melon farmers too on his car this weekend. Kind of ironic, but definitely a guy that, you know, he's getting the full-time go next year in the Chip Ganassi and the Xfinity and the 42. So congratulations to him on that. I mean, definitely bet on himself and well-deserved on that. And he stuck with it all season too. I mean, he was full-time basically in the Cup Series as well this year in, I mean, real horrible equipment. And so, you know, he's had his ups and downs this season. Mm-hmm. But he's definitely, you could tell he's grown as a driver from those experiences. And definitely somebody that you'll have to look out for in the future. I think this is one of the up-and-comers in the sport. Definitely, you know, I think he's going to compete for a championship next season in Xfinity. And who knows if he's going to get a ride in the Cup Series. But even then, even if it's still kind of the same boat where he's in a smaller, you know, team, at least he's still getting that experience going against the big boys of the sport. So, but I definitely like Ross Chastain as well for tomorrow's race from that 39th position, regardless of what happens. I mean, you kind of know, you know, not going to lose anything really. I mean, 1 point, but I think he has the ability and the skills to keep it on track as long as the equipment is up to par and make it happen for him this weekend.
All right, kids. This brings us to our final going to the garage segment. Liehr, who are you going to send to the garage? Or are we just doing a joint one and we're both going to rail on DraftKings, NASCAR offering, and DraftKings in general?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be like me not to pick a driver to go to the garage. I mean, we've already kind of talked about it a little bit with Denny Hamlin, but I would basically piggyback on that and say picking Denny Hamlin as my going to the garage for the weekend, just because where he's starting at and everything else. But definitely, I'm right there with you when it comes to DraftKings.
Yeah, all right, guys. Mine's no surprise. I'm sending DraftKings to the garage. First of all, they've somehow frozen my account because they, for something that they claim happened a couple of years ago. They did this on a Friday night and have given me no chance to resolve it until they're telling me until next week sometime. So I get to miss out on the final NASCAR race of the season and playing football, which I do every week of the football season, because somebody else's account that I somehow know did something crazy. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. But aside from what's personally affecting me, the main reason why I want to send DraftKings to the garage, again, is these terrible NASCAR contest offerings. Like, they're making it so that people don't want to play NASCAR in the volume that they once did. And that's part of the reason why we're closing down shop on the show. Is it's hard to play NASCAR consistently for that long of a season when you can't compete for prizes that warrant the time and the effort. And I'm sorry, when you're sinking in several $100s playing for $1,000 top prize here and there, or $2,000 top prize, is not worth the time and the effort. And to play for the giant lottery, play these giant lotteries with the limited lineups that we have because of the NASCAR format of only 40 drivers, sometimes only 38 and 39, right? To have these giant lotteries with one person like winning all the money up top in a multi-thousand person field just doesn't make a lot of sense. They used to have awesome contests. They used to have awesome tournaments with awesome payouts. And I'm the biggest fan of DraftKings when they abide by those rules, when they have great tournaments that make sense with great payouts. That's what I've been playing in football all season, right? There are a couple of football tournaments that are just amazing, and there are other ones that I think are just terribly designed, so I don't play in them. But they've evaporated all those contests from NASCAR. And when you go into the final week of a season and you don't give us good contest offerings again, like, part of me is glad that I can't play this weekend, because I don't know that I would have wanted to, just because the tournament offerings for NASCAR have been so poor. And like I said, I love DraftKings. I want to continue to play there, and I want to encourage everybody else to too, but only when they start responding to customers the way that they should and giving us the product that we deserve. And that means better contests, like, that make more sense, that people can actually make money on. And that's why I'm sending DraftKings to the garage. Liehr, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, yeah. So here's my gripe about DraftKings when it comes to the fantasy NASCAR product. Is it started out fantastic. You know, when they laid it out, there was a lot of opportunity to invest your money in it, make good money at it. And also the community was thriving. We had multiple people talking about it. We had multiple shows, multiple free shows, multiple touts that were charging, which we still have that. But I mean, as you guys know, and you can tell, there's really not much product out there when it comes to fantasy NASCAR information for free. It doesn't happen anymore, just because everybody else too is basically gotten to the point where it's just not worth it. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the effort. And essentially, DraftKings has pushed it to where, one, you got to be freaking kidding me, DraftKings, with when we have situations where there's drivers this season that are in the race, but you don't have them as an available driver on the contest, or you don't update your information on the qualifying and everything else. And I mean, or your stuff freezes during the middle of a race and you can't update it until almost the race is over. Like, that crap cannot happen. Like, I'm sorry, that never happens in football. It doesn't happen in any of your other products. But, it certainly does happen in NASCAR. It's because you guys have basically failed to give a crap about the product. And it's sad because there is a community for it. There are people that love the sport. There are people that love the sport and love fantasy itself, and daily fantasy at that. And obviously, by the numbers, there are people to support that. And the problem is you guys have basically pushed it off. My other issue with it too is you and I are both have put in a lot of money, along with other people in the community, a lot of money. And I'm sorry, but if you have a contractual obligation with the sport of NASCAR, people that put in enough money obviously are people that are fans of the sport. You and I and everybody else should have been able to get hot passes out the Yahoo, going to these different tracks from DraftKings, about people that play enough daily fantasy NASCAR. And, if you reach a certain plateau or something, or you win a tournament, you get hot passes. They don't even offer that. And you and I both know that they have the opportunity to give out hot passes, but they give them out to people who don't give a shit about the sport. They don't care about NASCAR. It's to people that play football and spend, whatever XYZ amount of money on football. They don't even freaking like NASCAR. That drives me insane. So, this is to DraftKings. DraftKings, you need to get your stuff together. If you want support from the daily fantasy NASCAR community, you need to offer them a better product. You can't have what you guys had this week, the last weekend of the season, and you guys basically don't put anything out there. That's basically tells everybody that we need to know what you really think about the sport. And it's kind of gone that way all season. When it started out with the Super Bowl of NASCAR with a $50,000 first place prize at the Daytona 500, and just basically went down from there as the season went.
It really did.
And, you guys change the format every single season when it comes to the championship for your daily fantasy and the qualifiers and everything else. I think I like the fact of the one that you guys did originally, where you sent everybody down to Miami Speedway and I think it was 20 people for first place. But that's all I got to say about that, man.
All right, guys. Well, I'm pretty sure that wraps up a final episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR show. Once again, I wanted to thank Liehr for being with me along in this ride, and thank each and every one of you for all the time you put in, watching, commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing. It's been wonderful. And like I said, let us know if you think that there's any way that you think we should continue it or do something else. But Liehr, it has been an awesome ride, brother. Thank you so much. And say your goodbyes and let's get out of here.
All right, brother. Well, again, it's been an amazing journey with you guys. Appreciate you guys always watching too. I know sometimes we get pretty lengthy in our shows, up to an hour. Sometimes we get them down to 20, 30 minutes. So, but it's just because, we got something to say, and hopefully we provided you information, making picks for your daily fantasy NASCAR teams each and every week. And hopefully we won you guys some money. That's what it was all about. Not only win myself some money and Poppa some money, but to help out the people that watch our show week in and week out. And to you diehards, we appreciate it, and everybody that participated in the league. And definitely hit us up on the comment section this weekend. We'll definitely, our Chiefs aren't playing in prime time this week. They're playing Monday night against the Rams. So we'll definitely have more rooting interest in NASCAR this weekend. So I'll definitely be watching the race, and I'll be hitting back at you guys this weekend too. But I have one thing I want to say is I'm not going to be giving out the whole entire pile, but I have a bunch of cards here. And for every person that likes and comments the show, at the end, we'll comment after the race. I'll do a random number, put them in the randomizer, and I will be sending one lucky individual a bunch of cards.
Cool. That's awesome. Oh, also, guys, sorry, we didn't we're kind of chalked up with emotions with the last show and everything.
Oh yeah.
Other than the Dominators that we put out, guys, there are a few place differential cards you might want to look at. Boyer's going to be a heavy place differential play starting 26, along with all the other guys starting in the 20s that shouldn't be there.
Blaney,
and
15.
The teens. Yeah, exactly. Liehr, did you want to go over any of those real quick before we get out of here? I just didn't want to leave those guys off on our last show.
No, good call. I definitely have some affinity for Blaney this weekend, starting 15th. You got to look at Kyle Larson starting from the 11th. I mean, if any point in the season where he could actually win a race and spoil it for anybody else, it would be Kyle Larson here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Guys definitely got some good results here, and he's got a sweet place differential this weekend, starting from that 11th spot. So, but other than that, like you said, the Clint Boyer play is kind of a no-brainer. It just kind of sucks that you have to spend $9,000 of your salary to get him on there for just a place differential guy. Other than that,
I mean, Blaney, Johnson, Suarez, those are guys in the range, in my opinion.
One other interesting one I like too is Chris Buescher. He surprised me this season, but he was practicing up in the top 10s this weekend too. So he's kind of another little starting 27th.
Definitely
place differential guy there.
All right, guys. I think that was a good quick hit when we kind of forgot that. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. It has been a pleasure to have you with us along this journey. Like we always say, hopefully I'm winning some money this week. It won't be me. Hopefully Liehr's winning some money this week on DraftKings, and if not Liehr, then hopefully it's one of you guys. And like you said, hopefully we helped you learn some stuff about fantasy NASCAR. Hopefully we entertained you a little bit along the way, and hopefully you made some money. So that said, guys, thank you for tuning in. Remember to comment and be a part of Liehr's giveaway, and good luck to you all.
Also, we'll let you guys know too about the championship, and we'll be in contact with either DJ Primek or Wiscoins. I hope that both of you boys follow us on Twitter. Hit us up afterwards, and then we can get together on which diecast we're going to be sending your way.
Definitely, we'll get that done and out to you guys ASAP. Thank you again, guys. It means the world to us that you tuned in and we're a part of this. Liehr, thanks again, brother. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. And it's been a hell of a journey. And just like everything else in life, at some point, all good things come to an end. And, I definitely enjoyed the ride. And it's that time.
All right, brother. Have a good one, guys. Later, y'all.
Go Truex. Win that championship, brother.
Bye, guys.